Welcome to Mysteries and Crime. I'm your host, Melissa Thompson. Today marks 61 days since Summer Wells has gone missing, and I have some information for you that I know you're going to want to hear, so sit back. Okay, first I wanted to address that Donald brought up about a camera that he had bought for Candace, and it had loads of pictures of Summer. Now, he says authorities took the camera and it wasn't listed on the paperwork that came back about the items they did seize from the home, okay? Now, Chris McDonough addressed this, and he said he doubts very much that authorities would make the mistake of not listing that item because it's such a high-profile case, and they wouldn't want to jeopardize their case that they're building against whoever by not including the camera on that list. So I was thinking, what if, in my opinion, or allegedly, Donald hid the camera? Where is that camera? Because in my mind, I don't really think TBI or Ronnie Lawson, the sheriff's department, has that camera. What was on that camera that they don't want us to see? Pretty interesting. I'm also curious about when they are going to release the 911 calls, because that will tell us a lot. And I think it is telling us something that they haven't released them. There's something about those calls and what was said. Because I was listening to Chasing Truth, and she said, when you go back to the beginning, you hear a lot. In the beginning, Leslie Earhart said Summer was outside her home when she went missing. So that's very interesting because Candace said she was inside the home when she went missing. But we have brought this theory up before that she wasn't in the home. So let's get on to Donald. Donald has been running his mouth again, as per usual. He went and he drove around his property, the things he quote-unquote did allegedly on June 15th. He showed us the sheds. I'm not sure exactly what that proves, Donald. You know, it doesn't say what was in the sheds on June 15th when you're showing us in the middle of August. That's not proving anything to us. Also, you continue to blame everybody else. I watched your interview, as you would call it, with your biological sister. Both of you threw your stepsisters under the bus. Like, I see that you guys are saying you made some small mistakes in the past. I'm sorry, but SA of a 5-year-old is not a small mistake in my opinion. What you did is atrocious. Now, remember Chris McDonough said that past behavior would play into why Summer is missing? And Donald said, well, I don't see why my past has anything to do with Summer missing. Well, are you guys ready for this? Here's the bombshell. According to Chris McDonough, Chris said he found out Donald Wells allegedly has a 17-year-old girlfriend right now. That's right, folks, 17 years old. He is 56. So what behavior is that showing? His biological sister said he never laid hands on his 2 older kids or her, but they're discrediting his stepsisters, and I find that very unfair. The sister also claimed that the stepsisters haven't seen or spoken to him in 20 to 30 years, but that's not true because Donald brought his oldest son with Candace to Utah, and he was there for 3 months. Remember, he was on the phone with Candace when he was at his stepsister's party. So when they got in the fight about Jose and all that. So what's going on there? He definitely had to have some contact during those 3 months he was there with his stepsisters. So I also noticed when he was talking about that, now the biological sister, she did not show her face. But Donald won't make eye contact to the camera on his phone or when he's talking to this other channel. Every time he speaks of Summer's disappearance, it's very odd. He looks down, he looks off to the side, down and off to the side. If you get a chance, look at his behavior, especially the eye contact when he talks about Summer's disappearance. He brought up the fact that people are claiming that him and his wife are not looking for their daughter. And from what we have seen, they are not. And he admitted they are not looking for their daughter physically. Well, why aren't you hanging up flyers? You really don't talk about finding your daughter. What you talk about is your stepsisters are basically jerks, in your opinion, and your biological sister's opinion, that they're only after money, okay? You're saying that Chris McDonough and everybody else that doesn't believe you is out to get you. Your wife is about to break. You said she's emotionally drained and doesn't trust anybody. She's the only one that attends the prayer vigils that your church is holding for you guys to support you. On the other channel, they asked you whether you have support in some way. And he said, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to discuss that. I better not. And these quote-unquote interviews are very heavily edited. So what is missing out of these interviews? You know, they claim that Donald is not a bad man. Well, if he's not a bad man, why are you editing these videos so closely? Because Donald likes to run his mouth. You know, he keeps digging his own grave. And he blames all the internet. He blames Facebook. He said, I thought Facebook would be there to help me find my daughter. And that's why I accepted all these friends. I accepted 2,500. But what did it do for me? People are just pretending to be me or Candace or pretending to be my stepsisters. Now, I heard from Mary and Trish, who's Jeannie's daughter, how they have said stuff in the groups about Donald and Candace. So I actually believe he really did see his actual stepsisters and his nieces talking about them. They don't believe his story either, or Candace's. And he does not like that. If you don't agree with him, he gets aggressive and he blames you, but he doesn't want to seem aggressive. So then he says, well, I'm praying for you. He goes, I don't want to get into all that. Yet he brought up Chris McDonough about 10 times and how angry he is. And he brought up psychics, I think 4 or 5 times, which he has brought up for a while now. And he's brought up YouTube channels, except for the few that back him. Everyone is to blame, Donald. Everyone. It's always everyone's fault. And I keep saying that. But you're avoiding something about Summer's disappearance, in my opinion. There is something you are not telling us. I find that you are not telling us everything that happened that day. You're not proving anything by making some random video of you driving around your property and showing us some sheds. It doesn't show us what happened on June 15th. And yet it's 2 months, your daughter has been missing, and you're going on granting interviews, and yet you're saying, why do all these people hate me? Your past behavior is indicative to future behavior. So where did the 17-year-old girlfriend come from, Donald? Because that's not looking so good for you right now. And if you're so happy with your wife and you're not a child P-word, what are you doing with the 17-year-old, Donald? It seems allegedly you have a pattern. And you don't like people finding out about that pattern. When they read your behavior and they discover who you really are, and they discover that you're not the religious man you say you are, everyone believes you have jailhouse religion in your blood. And your actions are showing that. You care more about how you and your wife look. You said you spend your time, both of you, on Facebook looking for what people have to say about you. Now, what does that matter, Donald? What does that matter right now? You lost your boys. Your daughter is missing. And yet you spend your time worrying about what others think, granting these interviews, making these videos. What is that helping? Why don't you get up and hang some flyers up? Why don't you use some time for good? Use it to put information out. If you're not involved, you would be doing that. You haven't searched for your daughter at all. You're wasting your time doing more of these interviews because you talk. But you know what? Maybe we'll keep giving you that rope, Donald, because you keep spilling and spilling, even though those videos are heavily edited. We're giving you enough rope. You're going to hang yourself, Donald. I feel very disgusted with the way that you have acted in those interviews. Nobody is after you. They're after your actions. And when a victim comes forward and says what's happened to them for years, our job is to listen to that person and to hear the stories that they went through and to see the damage that was caused. And now you're saying that your stepsister at 5 years old was as much to blame as you? I'm sorry, but a 5-year-old is not to blame for this. That's on you, Donald, in my opinion. Your actions definitely speak louder than words because you have done nothing for Summer. You blame Chris McDonough saying, well, what did you do for Summer? He's so worried about how much money Chris McDonough is making and these other YouTubers. He's infatuated with the money. He goes, I certainly wish I could be making money like that. Why are you so worried about the money, Donald? Why do you care? Chris said he does not do this for the money. Chris said that he wants to find your daughter. And if you listen to the story of how his son was almost kidnapped, you would understand why he wants to find your daughter. Because I, too, was once almost kidnapped when I was a little girl. 4 men jumped out to grab me and my friend, and it was scary. It was so bad, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. I remember a shiver going down my spine. And you go around acting like this. Your biological sister's an angel, but everybody else is a demon or a devil to you. Very, very interesting, Donald, how you and your wife are not standing side by side. Why haven't you been to those vigils? She's sitting by herself, all by herself. You showed up to one, only to say, unfortunately, we have to leave to see a private detective. And you stood with your arms crossed, like you're blocking anyone from coming to you and supporting you. And you're supposed to be around the people that you worship with, that you attend service with every week, that has your back. And yet you were standoffish to them. quite interesting, Donald, your behavior. I think that you need to stop talking about everybody else and look in the mirror and see what your actions are, Donald. Because things are not adding up, and you don't like that. You don't like when somebody gets close enough to see the truth, Donald, of who you really are. Because you know who you are, Donald. You know exactly what kind of person you are. You admitted to Chris McDonough that your temper goes from 0 to 60 just like that. And yet, you expect us to believe that you don't want to be aggressive, but your words say everything to us. It's your words and your actions. You're not proving anything by pretending to be the gentleman you claim to be. I'm sorry, but the more and more you speak, the more and more I don't believe you. I don't believe that you have an alibi, in my opinion, for June 15th, for the whole day. Because you speak about 30 to 40 minutes. Always, it's 30 to 40 minutes. So, where was the rest of the day, Donald? What was your daughter wearing when you left for work? Do you even know? You don't even know what kind of candy she likes. You seem to not know a lot of things about your daughter. And I think if anyone is to know something about their child, it's their mom and dad. But your actions are not saying you know your child. So what gives there? Do either one of you know what your daughter really liked? I know I'm on my soapbox, you guys. I just heard him tearing so many people down. And what Jeannie went through is horrible. I had been a first responder. I have seen what victims go through. Donald, that is unforgivable. That is not a small mistake that you made. And you need to figure out what's going on with the 17-year-old, because that is a huge bombshell. People are watching you, Donald, and they're starting to come to a conclusion. So we will see. Hope to see you all on the interview room tonight. We're doing analysis part 3, which I'm really, really interested to hear what Steve has to say tonight. I'd love to know how all of you are and what you're thinking about how Donald keeps talking and we keep hearing so much. I hope you have a beautiful week, everyone. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And I hope you stick around and subscribe. I have some really, really cool things coming for you all. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.